January 26th, 2020, Calabasas, California, 4:17 a.m. Kobe Bryant wakes up in the darkness of his Newport Coast mansion. He's been awake for only seconds when he hears the soft padding of feet in the hallway. His bedroom door opens quietly, and a small silhouette appears. "Dad?" Gianna's voice is barely a whisper. "You awake? Come here, Mambasita," Kobe says, using his nickname for his 13-year-old daughter. She climbs onto the bed beside him, and they sit together in the pre-dawn darkness, looking out at the ocean, visible through the floor-to-ceiling windows. "I had a dream," Gianna says. "We were flying over the mountains, and you were teaching me something about basketball, but I can't remember what it was." Kobe pulls her close. "We'll make that dream real today, baby girl. Today we fly together." 9 hours and 23 minutes later, Kobe Bryant and Gianna Bryant would be dead, along with 7 other souls, their helicopter torn apart against a Calabasas hillside in fog so thick you couldn't see 10 feet ahead. But in this moment, at 4:17 a.m., they have no idea. They're just a father and daughter, talking about basketball, dreams, and a future that will never come. This is the story of Kobe Bryant's last day, the conversations nobody heard, the decisions that led to tragedy, and the questions that still haunt everyone who loved him. Kobe Bryant was never good at sitting still. Retirement from the NBA in 2016 hadn't slowed him down. It had redirected his obsessive energy into new channels: film production, business ventures, coaching youth basketball, and most importantly, raising his 4 daughters with his wife Vanessa. But Gianna was different. Gianna had the fire. At 13, she already had that same killer instinct Kobe recognized in himself. She studied film like he did, breaking down opponents' tendencies. She practiced footwork until her feet bled. She didn't just want to be good at basketball, she wanted to be the best, just like her father. That Sunday morning, January 26, started like many recent Sundays. Kobe's Mamba Sports Academy in Thousand Oaks was hosting a youth basketball tournament, and Gianna's team was playing. Kobe had become deeply involved in girls' basketball, seeing in these young athletes the future of the sport. He coached Gianna's DAU team personally, bringing the same intensity to 13-year-old girls that he'd brought to championship NBA teams. After Gianna returned to her room around 5 a.m., Kobe stayed awake. Sleep had never been his priority. 4 hours was luxury. Sometimes he managed less. His mind was always working, always strategizing, always pushing toward the next goal. He opened his laptop and reviewed film of Gianna's last game. She'd scored 17 points but missed 3 layups she should have made. Kobe made notes on his iPad, footwork drills they'd work on this week, shooting angles to practice. He texted his assistant to book extra court time at the academy. Around 6 a.m., Vanessa woke up. She found Kobe in his home office, surrounded by screens showing basketball footage. "You're really flying today." Her voice held concern. The weather forecast had been uncertain. Marine layer, possible fog in the valleys. "Ara says we're good," Kobe replied, referring to Ara Zobanan, their pilot for the past 8 years. "He knows these routes better than anyone. We've flown in worse." Vanessa bit her lip. She didn't like helicopters, never had. But Kobe had been commuting by helicopter for years, from their Newport Coast home to Lakers practice, to business meetings in LA, to the academy in Thousand Oaks. It cut a 2-hour drive through traffic down to 15 minutes in the air. Time was the one thing Kobe refused to waste. "Promise me you'll turn back if the weather's bad," Vanessa said. "I promise. We're not taking chances, V. Especially not with Gigi on board." Around 7:30 a.m., the house came alive. Their other daughters, Natalia, Bianca, and baby Capri, needed breakfast. Gianna appeared in full basketball gear, her curly hair pulled back in a ponytail, her Mamba jersey number 2 proudly displayed. "Ready to dominate today, Mambasita?" Kobe asked. "Born ready," Gianna grinned, and Kobe saw himself in that smile, the confidence, the hunger, the absolute certainty that victory was the only option. What Kobe didn't know, what none of them knew, was that pilot Ara Zobayan was already at the Van Nuys airport, preparing the Sikorsky S-76B helicopter. Ara was experienced, professional, trusted, but Ara was also feeling pressure. His famous client wanted to fly, and Ara wanted to deliver. The weather was marginal, but not impossible. He'd flown in worse. He could handle it. Around 8:45 a.m., Kobe and Gianna said goodbye to Vanessa and the girls. Kobe kissed his wife, held her a moment longer than usual. Later, Vanessa would remember that moment, wonder if somehow Kobe knew, if some instinct warned him. But in the moment, it was just another goodbye before just another helicopter ride. "I love you," KOBE said. "Love you too. Be safe. Always." John Altobelli, his wife Carrie, and their daughter Alyssa were waiting at the Van Nuys airport. Altobelli was a legendary baseball coach, and Alyssa was one of Gianna's teammates. Also joining the flight were Sarah Chester and her daughter Peyton, another teammate, and Christina Mauser, an assistant coach on Gianna's team. 9 people, 1 helicopter, 1 foggy morning, and a series of decisions that would lead to disaster. The Sikorsky S-76B lifted off from John Wayne Airport in Orange County at 9:06 a.m. KOBE sat in one of the rear seats, Gianna beside him. The other passengers were spread throughout the cabin. Ara Zobayan was at the controls, confident and calm as always. For the first few minutes, the flight was routine. The helicopter climbed to about 1,400 feet, following the 101 freeway northwest toward Thousand Oaks. Inside the cabin, KOBE and Gianna were doing what they always did, talking basketball. "What did you think about that defense we ran last game?" KOBE asked. "The 2-3 zone? It worked until the second quarter. Then they figured out our weak spots," Gianna analyzed. "Which were? High post and baseline corners. We weren't rotating fast enough." KOBE nodded, impressed as always by his daughter's basketball IQ. At 13, she understood the game at a level that most high school players never reached. He'd been working with her since she was old enough to hold a ball, teaching her not just skills but how to think about basketball, how to see patterns and possibilities others missed. "You know what I love about you, Mambacita," KOBE said. "You don't just play the game, you study it, you respect it. That's what separates good players from great ones." "I learned from the best," Gianna smiled. What they didn't know was that outside the helicopter, conditions were deteriorating. The marine layer that had been hugging the coast was pushing inland, bringing thick fog that reduced visibility to near zero in some areas. Other helicopter pilots were turning back, deciding the conditions were too dangerous, but Ara Zobayan pressed forward. At 9:24 a.m., Ara radioed air traffic control at Burbank Airport, requesting permission to follow Interstate 5 through the Glendale area. But the fog was so thick that Burbank controllers denied permission. They couldn't provide flight following in such poor visibility. For 6 minutes, the helicopter circled in increasingly dense fog, waiting for clearance. Ara Zobayan was now making the most critical decisions of his life, decisions that would affect 9 souls depending on his judgment. Inside the cabin, the passengers were beginning to notice the visibility issues. John Altobelli, an experienced traveler, looked out the window at the gray nothingness surrounding them. "Pretty thick out there," he commented. "Ara knows what he's doing," KOBE replied with confidence. He'd flown with Ara dozens of times, through rain, through coastal fog, through Santa Ana wind conditions. Ara had always delivered them safely. At 9:30 a.m., Ara finally received clearance to proceed through Burbank airspace under special VFR, visual flight rules, that required the pilot to see the ground and navigate by sight. But in fog this thick, seeing the ground was increasingly difficult. The helicopter pushed forward, now flying at about 1,400 feet, following Highway 101 northwest. Ara was trying to stay under the cloud layer while maintaining visual contact with the freeway below. It was a delicate balance, and it was getting harder by the minute. At 9:39 a.m., Ara contacted air traffic control one last time, reporting that he was climbing to avoid clouds. This was his fatal decision. Instead of following the freeway or turning back, Ara pulled up, climbing rapidly through the fog, trying to get above the cloud layer. But the fog went higher than expected, and in climbing, Ara became disoriented. This is called spatial disorientation. When a pilot can't see the horizon or ground, the inner ear sends false signals to the brain about which way is up, which way is level. Even experienced pilots can become confused in seconds. Inside the cabin, the passengers felt the helicopter climb sharply. KOBE looked out the window, but saw nothing but gray. For the first time, he felt a twinge of concern. "How we doin', Ara?" he called toward the cockpit. "All good, Mr. Bryant. Just climbing above this layer." Those were among the last words Ara Zobayan would ever speak. The helicopter was now climbing at over 4,000 feet per minute, an aggressive rate. Ara thought he was climbing straight up, but his instruments told a different story. The helicopter was also turning, banking left, descending. Ara was experiencing classic spatial disorientation, his brain lying to him about the aircraft's orientation. At 9:45 a.m., the helicopter reached about 2,300 feet, and then it began to descend. Rapidly, the rate of descent increased, 1,000 feet per minute, then 2,000, then 4,000 feet per minute. The helicopter was effectively falling out of the sky, spinning as it fell. In the cabin, passengers felt the sudden drop. The helicopter shook violently. Someone screamed. KOBE grabbed Gianna, pulling her close, his arms wrapped around her in instinctive protection. In the last seconds, Ara finally realized what was happening. He tried to pull up, tried to level the aircraft, but there wasn't enough time, wasn't enough altitude. The mountain was rushing up through the fog. At 9:44 a.m., the Sikorsky S-76B impacted a hillside in Calabasas at approximately 184 miles per hour, while descending at nearly 4,000 feet per minute. The impact was catastrophic. The helicopter essentially disintegrated, its pieces scattered across the steep terrain. There was no fire, no explosion, just the terrible finality of metal and flesh meeting Earth at impossible speed. All 9 souls aboard died instantly. Kobe Bryant, 41 years old, 5-time NBA champion, 18-time All-Star, father of 4. Gianna Bryant, 13 years old, aspiring WNBA star, daddy's girl, a light just beginning to shine, gone in an instant. The first 911 call came in at 9:47 a.m. A mountain biker had heard the crash, seen smoke through the fog. Emergency responders were dispatched, but struggled to find the crash site in the dense fog and steep terrain. By the time they located the wreckage, it was clear there could be no survivors. News began spreading on social media. Before official confirmation, TMZ broke the story at 11:24 a.m. Pacific time, initially reporting that Kobe Bryant had died in a helicopter crash. The sports world went into shock. People refreshed their phones obsessively, hoping it was a mistake, a hoax, fake news. It couldn't be real. Not Kobe, not the Black Mamba, not the man who seemed invincible. At the Staples Center in Los Angeles, where the Lakers were scheduled to play the Clippers that night, people began gathering spontaneously. Fans wore Kobe jerseys, held signs, cried openly. Inside the arena, LeBron James, who had just passed Kobe on the all-time scoring list the night before, was seen sobbing. At the Mamba Sports Academy in Thousand Oaks, where Gianna's team was supposed to play that morning, parents and children waited for a helicopter that would never arrive. When news of the crash reached them, the gymnasium fell silent. Then someone screamed. Then everyone was crying, adults and children alike, unable to process the magnitude of what had happened. Vanessa Bryant was at home with her 3 surviving daughters when she learned that her husband and daughter were gone. Friends and family rushed to her side, trying to shield her and the girls from the media storm that was already building. How do you tell a 17-year-old that her father and sister are dead? How do you explain to a 3-year-old and a 7-month-old that daddy isn't coming home? The official confirmation came from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department around 1:30 p.m. 9 people confirmed dead, names withheld pending family notification. But everyone already knew. The world was already mourning. Athletes across every sport paid tribute. Michael Jordan released a statement calling Kobe a little brother. Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe's complicated former teammate, posted a tearful video saying he'd lost a piece of his heart. LeBron James posted a lengthy Instagram tribute. "I'm heartbroken and devastated, my brother." But it wasn't just athletes. Presidents and world leaders, actors and musicians, people from every walk of life expressed shock and grief. Because Kobe had transcended basketball, he'd become a global icon, a symbol of excellence and determination, proof that obsessive dedication to your craft could make you legendary. The vigils began that night. At Staples Center, at Mamba Sports Academy, outside Kobe's former homes, at basketball courts across America and around the world. People lit candles, left flowers, wore Lakers jerseys. They chanted Kobe, Kobe, the way crowds had chanted his name thousands of times before. Except this time, he couldn't hear them. The other victims, Ara Zobayan, John Altobelli, Carrie Altobelli, Alyssa Altobelli, Sarah Chester, Peyton Chester, and Christina Mauser, were initially overshadowed by Kobe and Gianna's celebrity. But as the days passed, their stories emerged too. Dedicated coach, devoted parents, talented young athletes, experienced pilot. 9 lives, 9 families destroyed, 9 futures erased. The investigation began immediately. The National Transportation Safety Board sent a team to examine the wreckage, interview witnesses, analyze flight data. The question everyone was asking: why? What went wrong? Could this have been prevented? The NTSB investigation would take over a year, meticulously reconstructing the final flight, analyzing every decision, every communication, every factor that contributed to the crash. The findings were sobering. Ara Zobayan had become spatially disoriented while flying in fog, lost awareness of which way was up, and inadvertently flew the helicopter into terrain. The weather conditions were worse than he'd anticipated. The decision to fly under special VFR was questionable. The decision to climb into clouds instead of turning back was fatal. But the investigation also revealed something else: pressure. Not explicit pressure. Kobe never demanded they fly in dangerous conditions, but implicit pressure. The pressure of flying a famous client who expected punctuality and professionalism. The pressure of maintaining a reputation as the pilot who could always deliver. The pressure of not wanting to disappoint. Several other helicopter pilots testified that they'd refused to fly that morning due to weather, but Arazobanian had said yes. Why? The NTSB couldn't definitively answer that question, but the implication was clear. He'd pushed the boundaries of safety, and it had cost 9 lives. The report also noted that Island Express Helicopters, the charter company, wasn't required to have certain safety equipment like terrain awareness and warning systems, TAWS, on their aircraft. If the helicopter had been equipped with TAWS, it would have warned Ara that he was approaching terrain. That warning might have given him the seconds needed to pull up, to avoid the mountain. But there was no TAWS. There was no warning. There was only fog, disorientation, and a mountain appearing too fast to avoid. The families of the victims filed lawsuits. Vanessa Bryant sued Island Express Helicopters for negligence and wrongful death. The Altobelli and Chester families filed similar suits. The company eventually settled, though no amount of money could restore what was lost. Vanessa's lawsuit also named the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department after it was revealed that deputies had shared graphic photos of the crash site, including photos of victims' remains. The deputies had shown these photos to friends, to people in bars, treating the tragedy as ghoulish entertainment. Vanessa was horrified that strangers had seen photos of her husband and daughter's bodies. She won that lawsuit too, awarded millions in damages. But again, the money was meaningless. The violation of privacy, the disrespect to the dead, that damage couldn't be undone. The basketball world struggled to find meaning in meaningless tragedy. Kobe had survived 20 seasons in the NBA, had pushed his body to its absolute limits, had defied injuries and fathered time itself. He'd retired healthy, was building a second act as successful as his first. He had decades ahead of him, time to watch his daughters grow up, to coach more young players, to continue inspiring millions. And Gianna was just beginning. She was going to play college basketball, she'd told anyone who would listen. Then the WNBA. She was going to carry on her father's legacy, prove that girls could dominate basketball just like boys. She had the talent, the drive, the name recognition. The world was waiting to watch her shine. All of that potential, erased in seconds. All those futures, gone. All those moments, graduations, weddings, grandchildren, championships, comebacks, just ordinary days of life, stolen by fog and disorientation, and a series of decisions that seemed reasonable until they weren't. 4 years have passed since that January morning. The grief hasn't gone away. It's just changed shape, become something Vanessa and the girls carry with them every day. Vanessa has been raising 3 daughters alone. Natalia is now 20, Bianca 7, and Capri 4. She shares photos and memories of Kobe and Gianna on social media, keeping their spirits alive for millions of fans who still mourn. She established the Mamba and Mambacita Sports Foundation, continuing Kobe's work in youth athletics. She's been strong in public while breaking in private, doing what mothers do, surviving for her children. Natalia graduated from high school, started college. She looks like Vanessa, but has Kobe's intensity, his focus. Bianca and Capri are growing up surrounded by memories of a father and sister they'll barely remember, learning who Kobe Bryant was through videos and stories and the love of millions of strangers. The Mamba Sports Academy was renamed Sports Academy, the association with tragedy too painful. But Kobe's presence still lingers there. Young players still train in the gym where he coached, still run drills he designed, still hear his voice in their heads pushing them to be better. The NBA retired both of Kobe's jersey numbers, 8 and 24 with the Lakers. It was an unprecedented honor, but then again, Kobe was unprecedented. The All-Star Game was redesigned in his honor, with new rules meant to encourage the competitive fire Kobe embodied. His Oscar for the animated short Dear Basketball sits in the Lakers facility, a reminder that his genius extended beyond the court. But all the tributes, all the retired jerseys, all the statues and memorials, they don't bring back the man. They don't restore the future that was stolen. They're just ways of saying, we remember, we miss you, your absence leaves a hole that nothing can fill. The conversation Kobe and Gianna had at 4 a.m. on January 26, 2020, that quiet moment of father-daughter connection in the pre-dawn darkness, was captured on security cameras but never released publicly. Vanessa has watched it, she said, and it brings her both comfort and unbearable pain. Seeing Kobe and Gigi happy, seeing them talk about their day ahead, seeing them have no idea what the next 9 hours would bring. In that conversation, Kobe told Gianna something he'd told her many times before. The only way through failure is to keep trying. The only way to greatness is to never accept anything less. You have that in you, Mambacita. You have everything you need to be special. Gianna replied, I know, Dad, because you taught me. And Kobe said, no, baby, you were born with it. I just helped you see it. That was the gift Kobe gave to all of us, really. He showed us what was possible through dedication and will. He made us believe that excellence wasn't about talent alone. It was about the choice to never settle, never coast, never accept mediocrity. He lived that philosophy so completely that it became his identity. Mamba mentality. Gianna inherited that mentality. She was going to carry it into a new generation, prove that girls could embody that same fierce competitive spirit. But she never got the chance. The world never got to see what she would have become. On foggy mornings in Southern California, when marine layer rolls in and visibility drops, helicopter pilots remember January 26, 2020. They remember that weather conditions can change fast, that pressing forward isn't always courage, that the people who love us need us to come home more than they need us to be on time. In the 4 years since the crash, several pilots have come forward to say they turned down flight requests that morning. They watched the weather and said no. They felt the pressure to say yes. Clients wanted to fly, schedules demanded it, but they refused. And they've carried guilt ever since, wondering, what if Ara had said no too? What if he disappointed his famous client that one time? 9 people would still be alive, but we can't live in what ifs. We can only live in what was, what is, and what remains. What remains is love. Vanessa's love for the husband and daughter she lost. Natalia, Bianca, and Capri's love for the father and sister they miss. Millions of fans' love for a basketball player who inspired them to be better. And Kobe and Gianna's love for each other, that father-daughter bond that transcended basketball, transcended fame, was just pure and simple and eternal. At 4:17 a.m. on January 26, 2020, Kobe Bryant told his daughter they would make her dream real, that they would fly together. He kept that promise. They flew together, they dreamed together, and when the end came, they were together. Maybe that's not comfort. Maybe there's no comfort in tragedy this senseless, but it's something. In their final moments, they had each other, and that love, that connection. Death can't take that away. The Mamba and his Mambacita, forever. If this story moved you, if you believe in pushing yourself to be better every single day, subscribe to Hidden Legends Stories. Leave a comment. What does Mamba mentality mean to you? How has Kobe Bryant inspired your life? Next time, we'll explore another legend who left us too soon. Until then, remember, the greatest tribute to those we've lost is to live with the passion they showed us was possible.